probably wondering what I just threw at your face. Well, I'm glad you never asked, because today we're going to learn about the Atlatl. First, let's talk about the basics. The word Atlatl comes from the Nahuatl language that is used in central Mexico. This just simply translates to spear thrower. So what the heck is a spear thrower, you might ask? Well, the short, simple definition of a spear thrower is basically a stick throwing another stick. The fancier definition is a tool that uses leverage to achieve greater velocity in dart or javelin throwing. The dart is thrown by the action of the upper arm and wrist. The throwing arm together with the atlatl acts as a lever. The spear thrower is a low-mass, fast-moving extension of the throwing arm, increasing the length of the lever. This extra length allows the thrower to impart force to the dart over a longer distance. Before the invention of the bow and arrow, the atlatl was used. The atlatl would have been very easy to construct compared to the bow and arrow. To construct the spear thrower, all you would have needed was a fallen branch that was curved enough to throw the dart itself. Then for the dart, straight pieces of river cane or tree saplings were used. The darts were then fletched with feathers to give it more accuracy. People used either natural cordage, such as this one, for wrapping the feathers around, or they had the choice of using pine pitch glue, which came from the pine tree. The same thing would have been applied when hafting on a spearhead on the tip of the spear dart. It would have been wrapped around with sinew of some sort of animal, and then pine pitch glue would have been applied on to secure the tip on there. So the oldest evidence of the spear thrower we have is radiocarbon dated to around 20,000 years ago. Located in Placard Cave, France, this is attributed to the Solutrean culture of Western Europe. The majority of the oldest spear throwers are dated to 11,000 to 17,000 years old, which during this time period goes to the Magdalenian culture, which occurred after the Solutrean culture. The dart throwers were made from bone, antler, or ivory. They were truly a piece of art. In the original piece of this that I have in my hand, it was carved from a reindeer antler. It is known as the mammoth spear thrower. It was discovered at the rock shelter of Monastruc in the southern region of France. It is about 18,000 years old. This next piece comes from La Madeleine in Dordogne, France. It shows a hyena. It is probably one of the best reconstructions I have ever seen. It is very pretty. It is truly a piece of art. This next piece is pretty cool. It's a bison licking an insect bite, and it was found in the same location as the hyena piece. This one represents two ibex fighting each other and still has the hook of the thrower still attached, which I find very interesting. Now when you look at this piece, you're probably thinking, what the heck? What is going on? What is coming out of that animal's butt? Well, so that is a fawn ibex, and looks like it's a turd coming out. And then there's birds sitting on top of that turd. Now that is what the experts say. However, I do think it belonged to an old story or myth that was told a long, long time ago that we will never know about. All of the animals depicted in their artwork would have played an important role in their daily lives. These animals gave them food, warmth, shelter. Animals they would have hunted with the spear thrower would have been mammoth, horses, bison, ibex, and deer. It's kind of a cool and weird thing to hunt the animal you are pursuing with the hunting dart to be made out of its deceased relative that's made out of its bone or antler. Here are some examples of spearheads from the Magdalenian era. These are made typically from reindeer antler and bone or ivory from other animals that they've hunted. To shape these points into the way they are, it would have taken a very long time and it would have been very difficult. So the amount of skill and craftsmanship that goes into these points are impressive. Without a doubt, atlatls were used in Asia, but there is no evidence or references regarding to the use of it in Asia, except for a couple references that I will share on here. It was very hard to find any papers or research on atlatls in Asia. Luckily, I did find an article that I came across on Google. It's titled Asian Evidence of Prehistoric Spear Use, written by Kenneth A.R. Kennedy. This next piece of evidence comes from a site in India, from a rock shelter. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I'm just going to try it. Betka and other Indian Mesolithic sites illustrate spear thrusting and throwing and use of the atlatl. This one's a cool piece here because you can see it. It might be kind of hard to see it, but the top, you can see a spear thrower that he's holding. It looks like he might be backing away. And then the middle one looks like a dude just got straight up trampled by a rhino, and the rest of his group of fellow hunters are running away from this rhino. Also looks like there's a bow and arrow in use here. And then further down, I feel like you could see the atlatl being used from a couple different stick figures here. Again, it's kind of hard to tell, but there's definitely some spear use going on here, as in they're thrusting the spear at least into the animal. That one kind of looks like a cow, but I could be wrong. But yeah, this scene definitely depicts rhino hunting with spears for sure. It would totally make sense that these Mesolithic hunter-gatherers would have used an atlatl or a bow and arrow to take down this rhino. I don't see it ending very well, just thrusting your spear face to face with one. Neanderthals were known for doing that. They weren't known for using the atlatl. That was more of a Homo sapien invention. But yeah, Neanderthals were mainly known for thrusting their spears into their prey. We could see this in evidence in their bones, their anatomy, pairing them to the skeletons of Homo sapiens. They definitely got more physical, but their bodies were more robust and built for that kind of stuff, unlike Homo sapiens. Although Neanderthals did not use the atlatl, they did have the ability to throw at long distances. The oldest evidence for this and for spears in general is the Shawnigan spears that are dated to around 300,000 or 400,000 years old. The 8 wooden spears found in Shawnigan were attributed to the genus Homo neanderthalensis or Homo heidelbergensis, so it's one of those two culprits. All the spears were made from spruce, and spear number 4 was made from pine. These spears were used to hunt down horses in the local area. The technology advancement of Homo sapiens with the invention of the atlatl would have gave our species the upper hand and advantage over other human species we have coexisted with, such as the Neanderthals, say 40,000 years ago. The Atlatl is much more superior than just throwing a javelin or thrusting a spear, if used in the right hands of a skilled thrower. Picking up where we left off in Asia, the first major migration into the Americas would have brought the Atlatl technology with them from the Old World. I am completely aware that there were people here before the Clovis culture, but for the sake of the topic, I will focus on the Clovis culture and their use of the Atlatl. What I'm holding in my hands here is a Clovis spear point that dates to 12,000 to 13,000 years old. Clovis points are known for their deep fluted marks that go down the middle. It is hypothesized that it made it much easier to haft it into a foreshaft of a spear dart. These points were used to hunt bigger animals. These spear points are commonly associated in being found with mammoths, mastodons, bison, and other Ice Age megafauna. It is important to note that there is zero evidence of a hafted Clovis point, as well as no physical evidence to the paleo-natives using the spear thrower. It is safe to assume, though, that the paleo-indigenous did use the spear thrower, since there is plenty of evidence of its use after the paleo times. Experiments designed to test the Clovis weaponry were done on elephant carcasses in the 1980s. The association with Clovis projectile points in mammoth remains has convinced scholars that thrusting and using a spear thrower was used to kill the mammoths. A shell spear thrower hook was found from Warm Mineral Springs, Florida, in association with human remains, dated to the early archaic deposits between approximately 9,000 and 10,000 years ago. Other spear thrower hooks are reported from Windust Phase at Marmes Rock Shelter in Washington, dated between approximately 9,000 and 10,000 years ago, and from Fort Rock Cave, Oregon, dated to approximately over 8,500 years ago. An important controversial piece to the Atlatl set is the banner stone. Its use has been heavily debated. Some have suggested that they were used as Atlatl weights to act as a counterbalance to improve accuracy and efficiency, or they could have possibly been ceremonial pieces. Most banner stones were made from banded slate. Banded slate is a relatively soft stone that makes it easier to drill and shape compared to other stones. This was favored by the native North Americans, especially in the Ohio River Valley. As you can see here, banner stones take on different shapes and sizes. You have one that looks like a butterfly, one that looks like a bow tie, and one that kind of looks like a Viking helmet. In 1937, William S. Webb at the University of Kentucky excavated 880 burials at the Indian Knoll site in western Kentucky. Among the 880 human burials, he found 42 banner stones buried with elements of throwing sticks known as atlatls. Webb proposed that the banner stones were weights and that had been made to be placed on the wooden shafts of these hunting tools. I'm going to work my way down North America, starting with the Arctic region that belongs to the Inuit culture. Starting with the Thule culture, they are the ancient proto-ancestors of the Inuit people. This here is an example from the Thule culture itself. It is a very unusual looking spear thrower that is possibly made from driftwood that was found in Point Barrow, Alaska. Moving on to recent times, this spear thrower here belongs to the Alaskan Inuit culture. Inuit hunters were known to hunt in their kayaks using a harpoon spear thrower to harvest sea mammals. The Aleutians of Alaska did the exact same thing. In this photograph, it is thought that they were hunting sea otters due to the size of the spear itself being small. Moving on to the southwest region of the United States. Located in Valley of Fire State Park by Las Vegas, there is a 4,000-year-old petroglyph of an atlatl and dart shown beside symbols and animals of the region. in the lower Pecos region of the Mexican-Texas border depicts a man holding a finger-looped atlatl and dart. This example here was the first spear thrower ever discovered from the interior of the United States. In Utah, basket maker-styled atlatls were well known and used. They are structurally known for their finger loops. They were used by the earliest sedentary agricultural people such as the Anasazi Pueblo natives. Southwestern natives weren't the only ones who used the two-finger hole apparatus. The ancient key dwellers of the Florida coast used it as well. This example from Florida is another spear thrower, but instead with a single finger hole. It is also one of the only examples known from the U.S. east of Arkansas. One more cool example from Florida depicts a carved rabbit that serves as a decorative hook. This thrower also features the single finger hole. The Aztec culture of Mexico used the atlatl to fight off Cortez and his Spaniard conquistadors. The darts were tipped with obsidian, bone, or hardened wood typically. On Lake Pátzcuaro in Michoacán, Mexico, the Tarascan natives still use the spear thrower for hunting wildfowl today. In Brazil, the spear thrower is used today as well by some tribes, especially by those in the Araguaia and Xingu rivers. These are portraits of ethnic minorities in Brazil. The Tareru warriors are on the left, were recruited by the Dutch, whom they only used atlatls for projectiles and as guerrillas against the Portuguese. The Portuguese were terrified of these warriors. Hey, and Peru messed with those spear throwers too. Here's a fine-ass example of one from Peru. This one was made from bone and carved in the form of a dude playing some pipes. Another sick piece of art is this owl that was carved onto the hand grip of a spear thrower that was also found on the coast of Peru. Owls are definitely one of my favorite animals. Alright, let's fly over to the next continent, guys. We're going to talk about atlatls in Australia. However, in Australia, they were not called atlatls, they were called woomeras. These woomeras were different in size and shape compared to other stick throwers. They kind of look like the old wooden schoolboard paddle that your teacher may have used on you just because you wouldn't shut up during class. Just kidding, I don't condone that. This hook spur on the left is possibly made from a kangaroo tooth. Here is another example from Australia. They typically have an ovoid leaf-shaped body with decorations in the front. And here is its backside, which is undecorated. This one is a very pretty example of a woomera. It has a distinct zigzag pattern that could possibly represent a snake. This woomera also features a flint cutting tool on the handle end, making it a multi-purpose tool. The shafts were made from straightened canes of spear wood, and the top were carved from mulga wood and then tied on with kangaroo sinew. This is a photograph taken in Queensland in 1966 of an indigenous Lardell man demonstrating the grip of a spear thrower for launching three-piece spears. Here is another historic photo of an indigenous Australian shaping the base of a spear shaft. Before steel and glass were introduced into the region in historic times, this was done by using shell scrapers. Alrighty folks, I just want to give a big thank you and shout out to Don's Maps for providing all those historical photos and letting me use these photos to share with you guys on YouTube to make this documentary happen. Credits, sources, and links will be in the description below. If you have enjoyed watching this, please like and subscribe because there will be more content coming soon. Alright, so until next time.